Alright, here we are in the 2020 Tundra TRD Pro. I wanted to show you a few little things here. This is the new screen, new layout. Still has the dials here, but the screen's a little bit bigger, quite a bit nicer, and it's still a long reach to here, but you can do it from the driver's seat. It's slightly better than the Sequoia. I do like the interior on this truck. You can get a wireless charger there if you add the option in, but there's tons of space in the rear seats. That rear window, of course, still goes down, just like the older models. The center console is really cavernous. Throw all my stuff in there. The front seats are heated and plenty of power outlets down here. The traction control is kind of interesting. If you're in two-wheel drive and you hit the traction control button, you can get it to go to auto LSD. If you're in four-wheel drive and you hit that, it turns off ATRAC, which is the brake system that brakes the wheels when they spin, so you can climb rocks and stuff. And ATRAC works really well in this truck. So there's track off, and then if you hold it down, then you get these other pre-collision off, and all of the traction control, stability control stuff turns off there. Overall, really enjoyed this truck a lot more than I thought. I knew it was outdated. I mean, essentially this truck is 13 years old now. New features: it does have this trailer brake controller, push button start, tow haul modes here, which is interesting. Sometimes you go to hit the push button start and you hit the tow haul mode, not a big deal. This truck seems to be best suited for an outdoorsman, a hunter, fisherman, hiker, backpacker type people who will be driving gravel roads, but not like super rough roads. The Fox suspension, I'll put a picture up on there, the front. They're 2.5-inch shocks with remote reservoirs or piggyback or whatever you want to call it, and they are great for cruising down roads like this, and gravel roads and whatever else. So you're using the Forest Service roads and the fire roads to get out to your fishing hole, your camping spot, whatever it may be. This truck is great for that because it can handle running these roads for long distances at, you know, decent speeds, higher speeds, and without ever overheating the shocks. It can also pull 10,000 pound trailer. I think it's 9,900 or something like that, 9,600. Anyway, between 9 and 10,000 pounds, and you do have to have weight distribution over 5,000 pounds because the suspension is a little bit soft. Hey, I found someone on the trail up here. Very capable vehicle. The ATRAC, like I said, it works great. I did climb this hill here on the right. There's not much up there, and it wasn't an issue at all. But then I also did some other things. Climbed a little hill up here, and we'll climb it again, and I'll get some exterior footage of that to show you how little wheel spin there is with ATRAC and how well it climbs. Overall, really enjoyed it. Love this vehicle. Sound system's good. The ergonomics of everything are really good. Just drives really well. I haven't been in the other Tundra models, so I can't give you a big difference between this one versus the others, but overall I was really surprised with everything except for gas mileage. I've been averaging like 13. I don't know why it's saying the tank average is 5.9. I think that must be off, but overall I've averaged about 13 miles per gallon. That includes a lot of highway driving, but driving around sand dunes, driving around up here. So there's not great gas mileage, but the truck has a good amount of power. It's done everything I've wanted it to. I've really enjoyed the ride and everything. It's smooth, it's not super rough or anything, and tons of space in the interior. Overall, just a great vehicle. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna climb a little hill here, get the axles crossed up, and show you how well the ATRAC system works. Alright, so you can see the wheels up in the air, and there's just a tiny bit of slip there before it grabs, the brakes grab it, and now all four wheels spin evenly. So I did get the chance to take this out to the local sand dunes, and we had a good time with it. It had plenty of power, that 5.7 liter with 381 horsepower and a little over 400 foot-pounds of torque. Did great in the sand. It had plenty of power to climb these hills. The sand was, as you can see, there's snow on it, so it's cold and it's wet, so it was very hard sand. We aired down to 20 psi, and I still almost blew a bead off the tire. It was leaking air, it had sand between the rim and the tire. By the time we got back, it was running really low, so I couldn't go much lower than that. I think we were actually at like 18 psi, anyway, close to 20. But as you can see, it just climbed everything real easy. And we really enjoyed it out there. Like I said, plenty of power to get through everything, and the transmission did pretty good. When you're in 4-low, that first to second gear shift is really pretty hard, but that's the same for every vehicle. Most vehicles don't like making that first to second shift in 4-wheel drive low. Other than that, did really well. Most of the time we were in 4 high because, like I said, the power just it was great. We did get up here to the top of this, and I couldn't see this ravine, so the camera's mounted on top of the truck, the very top of the roof, and I couldn't see as the driver what was behind there. So we could have made that and continued on our way all the way up to the top, but called it quits there. So the truck actually stalls right here. It was kind of surprising. The engine shut off. I think that because we were in 4-low and the transmission just didn't let go soon enough, I don't know. Anyway, we had to restart it, and then backing down the hill was a little bit of a pain. It had me missing a manual transmission. In a manual with 4-wheel drive low and all the lower gearing and stuff, this would have been a little bit easier, or with the downhill assist control or whatever they call it. This truck didn't have that, so backing down the hill, the front brakes kept locking and kept sliding me sideways. Once I got it figured out, it was no problem, but it was just a little bit more white knuckle than it should have been. The gear ratios just weren't low enough to make this an easy thing at first. So here we have it turned back around. We're heading down the hill, and you can see how much we've actually climbed. We're quite a ways up here, and here we're testing the engine braking again. No foot on the gas, no foot on the brake, just seeing how slow it will creep down the hill. It actually did okay. This part wasn't as steep as the other parts, but again, it would have been nice to have lower gearing, or have that option of the manual transmission with the lower gear. But did really well off-road, and the gear shifts with the automatic is just so much easier, especially in sand. Where you need to make a really fast gear shift, otherwise you'll just sink or stop. And in a manual transmission that's really difficult, but in the automatic it did great. So this truck is very well equipped from the factory. The base price is $52,000, and it comes with all the leather seats and all that stuff, the seat heaters, and basically everything you saw in there is all standard. The only option we had was the bed mat, and it's just a rubber bed mat that was pretty thick and had a good cushion to it, but we would have forgone that. It seemed like it trapped a lot of dirt and debris underneath it, and just made it harder to clean and scratched up the bed underneath the mat anyway. We either would have upgraded to the spray-in bed liner or just removed the bed mat. One thing that's different on the Tundra from other Toyota vehicles is that there is no center differential lock. This is a good feature that we like. It allows you to put the vehicle into 4-wheel drive low, and then you can either, like if you're backing in a trailer in a tight spot, you can put it in 4-low and get that extra gear, lower gear ratio, and let you have more precise control over it. The Tundra doesn't have that, so when you put it into 4-wheel drive, it automatically locks the center differential, or essentially there is no center differential, and so you're missing out on that option that the Sequoia and the Land Cruiser, I believe the Tacoma and 4Runner both have that. I'm not sure why it's not on the Tundra, but without the center diff lock on, for example in the Sequoia, there is a Torsen limited slip center differential. It's just a great system overall, and allows you to drive on pavement in 4-wheel drive without getting any driveline binding or anything. And we hit snow. It was actually a couple days after this day at the sand dunes. We hit some snow. It would have been nice to have 4-wheel drive high without the center diff lock, so that we could have driven on the pavement where there was intermittent patches of snow and ice. So we wanted to do some more traction board testing, so we got stuck here. Not really stuck. We could have used gravity and back down the hill, no problem, but we wanted to dig it out and test to see if these traction boards would actually help us make it up the hill from here. This hill is real easy. We could have done it just with more momentum and made the hill no problem. But as you can tell, with just 2 traction boards, it wasn't enough. Maybe if we would have had 4, but ultimately that was a fail. All right, here we are with the 2020 Tundra TRD Pro. A few changes for this year. The grille up front. So the TRD Pro is the only trim that has the big bold Toyota lettering. You also get 2 fake hood scoops, which do nothing, but I guess they look cool. Down here on the bottom, the fog lights. These are rigid fog lights. Really high end, probably the highest end fog lights you can get. And they're very bright. This army green color, this is the first year of this color, and you can get it across the whole TRD Pro lineup, including the Sequoia, the 4Runner, the Tacoma, all those. I don't think the RAV4, but maybe on the RAV4 as well. The tires on this thing, I'm surprised how well we're doing in the sand, but these are the Michelin LTX AT2s. They're not a super aggressive tire. You can see they have a little bit of sidewall lugs, but for the most part, they're more of a highway tire with a little bit of an all-terrain bias to them. This sand today's wet and packed, so we've been able to drive no problem. Everything else pretty much carries over. This truck is 12 years old now, 2008, maybe 2007. Still has a 5.7 liter V8. This is the only engine option now. You can no longer get the 4.6. And of course in the TRD Pro, you want that anyway. But it's still a good stout engine, produces plenty of power. New for 2020, all Tundras come with a trailer brake controller. Right here, which is an excellent addition. This truck has no options except for that bed mat right there. And even as such, it's very well equipped. I think the MSRP is $56,000 on this one. One of my favorite things on the Tundras is this rear window rolls down, same with the Sequoia. Tons of space back here. I have a lot of crap in here right now, and you can tell it's dirty because we're doing all the sand driving, but there's a lot of space back here. The person in this seat's over 6 feet tall, person in this seat's 6 feet tall, and there's still like 6 inches of leg room there. So also for the 2020 TRD Pro, you get dual exhaust from TRD. It sounds great. So one thing I just noticed, when you turn it off and then turn it back on, if you had turned off the traction control and stability control, then it will stay off. Also, when you're in 2-wheel drive, you can't turn off the traction and stability control, but if you put it in a 4-wheel drive, turn it off, go back to 2-wheel drive, it stays off. So that's a way to get around it. So the camera on the Tundra is offset on the rear, so you can see how to line it up. Hopefully that's clear. Anyway, to line it up, you have to be off center from where this line is right here. That should be in the center, but because the camera's off center, to line it up with the center of the hitch, you're off a little bit. So yeah, they have the keyhole here, camera here. It's kind of dumb as far as that goes. The camera should maybe be right here to give you a nice direct in line with your hitch. So the tow haul mode on these Tundras and Sequoias is pretty aggressive, and it's actually a good thing. It holds onto the gears for a little while longer, and if if you use the tow haul mode when you're empty, it's just overly aggressive. It feels terrible. But when you're loaded with a trailer, at least a somewhat heavy trailer, this one's 6,000 pounds, it makes a big difference. It makes things feel a lot better. It makes up for maybe some of the lack in acceleration you would normally have, and overall it's just a better feeling than as if you did not have tow haul mode on.
Thanks for watching Engine Adventures review of the 2020 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. If you liked it, go ahead and hit subscribe for more reviews, tips, how-tos, and adventures.